What's up guys, I'm Chad and this is the 2022 Lowrider S. Now this has been one of the bikes I've been more excited to do a review on because Harley's implemented some changes that show they're actually listening to us, along with including some new models that show they're listening to us as well, like the Street Glide ST, the Road Glide ST, and the Lowrider ST. So stay tuned, we're going to talk more about what makes this bike different from previous year models and why it's such a good motorcycle overall. Alright, so getting this video set up was a nightmare. Trying to carry all of your equipment on in a backpack versus having saddlebags, it makes things very difficult. This dude just gave me a thumbs up for the bike. Old dude, probably rips the Lowrider S, probably has one himself. Seems like a Dyna guy, you know, probably has the OG V1 Lowrider S. All right, so the difference between this Lowrider S and last year's Lowrider S, there's a few big differences. Number one is the motor, and it rips. There's a big difference between the 114 and the 117. I'm gonna take a shot at the horsepower and torque figures. If I screw them up, then I'll put the correct ones on the screen. But I think it's something along the lines of an additional 10 foot-pounds of torque and like 8 horsepower over the 114, which doesn't seem like a lot, but on a bike this light, you can definitely notice it. Another big difference is going to be the rear suspension. I think it's an inch. It's either an inch or an inch and a half taller in the rear, and you can definitely feel it. The bike is more nimble, a little bit easier to flick. Low speed maneuverability is better. Got a little bit more confidence, higher speeds. They also changed where your display gauge is located. It's not down in the center anymore. It's right up in front of you. And I like this a lot because before, if you're like really getting into it and you want to look down and maybe see what RPM you're sitting at or what speed you're at, you had to look down. Whereas now, it's right here, right in your line of sight. And look down just at a quick glance and see, you know, what RPM you're sitting at, whether or not you need to shift. I like that setup a lot better than having it mounted down on the center console. In terms of seating position, I'm 5'11", and I wish that the bars were a little bit taller. For a guy my height, it kind of throws me over into a, which I think they want, into a little bit more aggressive riding position. I wouldn't say it's not nearly as aggressive as the Fat Bob, because the Fat Bob, you got forward controls and a straight up drag bar setup. These have a little bit of a pullback, so it's not that bad, but for longer rides, you're definitely gonna want a taller set of bars, maybe a different seat. I prefer mid controls, but a taller guy is not gonna like the way that this bike sits. My knees are at a 90-degree angle right now. One thing that I wish they had on this year model Lowrider S that they had on the Dyna version is cruise control. So the 16 and 17 Lowrider S, it came with cruise control. They stopped doing that when they released it on the Lowrider or the Softail model. They put it on the Lowrider ST, which is cool, but it would be one of my first upgrades for the Lowrider S, is I would throw on cruise control, because it really does help a lot. It's very well balanced. It hooks up when you put the hammer down. I'm pretty sure this bike comes stock with Michelin Scorchers. The Milwaukee 8 doesn't put off a ton of heat. I love this motor. I kind of forgot to talk about the Milwaukee 8 in general, whether it's a 107, a 114, or a 117. It's just a really good motor. It's smooth, it's responsive, it makes a ton of torque down low, and if you look at the dyno chart of any Milwaukee 8 motor, especially the 117, it's a pretty pretty aggressive curve, and then it stays all the way through from like 1800 RPMs. That's what I mean by power when you need it. You've got power through the entire, like the twin cam didn't really start making power until like 2500, 2600 RPMs, maybe even more RPMs than that. You had to rev that motor to really make some power, which caused you to need a downshift if you ever needed power. The Milwaukee 8, roll into it any RPM and it's gonna find some power. The twin cam, you get this like chattering. You get this chatter in lower RPMs that I wasn't really a fan of. There's a lot less moving parts internally in this motor that make it a good choice. All right, so we're gonna do 3 pulls and see where that lands us. And I'm not gonna do it on the same part of the street. I'm not stupid, but I am gonna do it right here. Drag meter, speed. Okay, so not the best start. It was spinning. We will stop again and get a different 0 to 60. And I'll flip my visor down this time so maybe you can hear me. And we'll come to a stop in a very awkward spot like we're doing right now. Click on its speed and 3.4 seconds on the 0 to 60. It's a little bit better. It was 3.68 last time. So it's a full second faster than a Road Glide Special. We tested that one the other day. Dude, this thing just grips. I wish there wasn't gravel right here. There's gravel all over the place. Very quick. I can't remember what the previous year model Lowrider S did 0 to 60 in, and then even the twin cam version. I did a video of both of those bikes doing 0 to 60. I'll link that up top. I'm gonna do it one more time here. Back it up, speed, slingshot, engaged. All right, there we go. Seconds. That sucked. I got a lot of wheel spin right off the bat and the bike got a little sketched out. Definitely could have done better on that 0 to 60, but it is what it is. We're gonna find a stopping point. We're gonna talk about the motorcycle and then we're gonna conclude this this whole review. So the first thing I want to talk about is the rear suspension. You'll notice just by looking at it, it's a little bit taller. I don't know the exact specs, but I'll put them on the screen right here. It's a little bit taller because it makes it a little bit easier to dip into corners. Just gives you more confidence going through corners. It handles much better. It doesn't fight you as much as the previous year model did. This has been a big upgrade for anybody who buys a Lowrider S. This is one of the first things they do to it. So I commend Harley for actually listening to their customer base. Another thing that Harley's done is they relocated the gauge cluster to a top bar position versus the center console. It's a big deal because now you can check your RPMs, your speed, your gear shift position, whatever it is, anything that this thing holds, without having to take your eyes off the road for too long. It's more of a subtle downward movement versus looking straight down at your center console like before. So this is an upgrade that I really see a lot of value in. So with Harley putting the 114 in almost every other motorcycle, they had to do something different to make the Lowrider S different, and the 117 was their answer to that. I can vouch for this thing. It makes a lot more horsepower than the 114. You can feel it. You can feel the difference in the horsepower and torque. I don't know the exact figures. I should do my research, but I'll put them up on the screen here. I think it's something like 110 foot-pounds of torque and like 8 horsepower, but I could be wrong. Anyways, you can definitely feel it. Big upgrade. Glad they did it. I can imagine with a tune, this thing's gonna scream. So as far as the Lowrider S goes, it was badass even before the upgrades they did for 22. It had inverted front suspension, dual disc brakes, it was a blacked out motor, it had bronze wheels, it was a solo seat, and it had that cool little fairing up front, as well as a 5-gallon tank, obviously the Milwaukee 8 motor, and the monoshock rear suspension. It's a buy. It's a great motorcycle. If you haven't ridden one, definitely go down to your local dealership, take one for a spin. And as always, please like, subscribe, share, comment down low with things you like or you don't like, and I'll see you guys next time.